Now, the World Cup begins in 54 days' time, but with less than 1 month until Gareth Southgate picks his provisional squad. Who's going to be on the flight to Qatar? Well, England will head into the tournament on the back of 6 games without a win, their longest ever run before a major competition. There was a much improved performance last night in a 3-3 draw with Germany, and Gareth Southgate is pleased with the response.
The players have been fantastic the last few days. They've taken some individual responsibility. They've collectively talked as a group on their own with us, and the whole experience has been one we needed, I think, to grow the next part as a team, because you're going to have pressure in a World Cup, and you can try and avoid pressure, but it's coming. You know, maybe it's the third group game, maybe it's a quarter-final, whatever it might be, it's coming. So better that we feel it and we learn how to deal with it. We talked about how we needed to react if Germany scored tonight, and the players reacted in the right way. So we show some character, but also a lot of quality in the chances we created throughout the whole game, and particularly for the goals we scored. You can talk about team spirit when things are going well. But in actual fact, the true test is when there's a bit of adversity, because it can be a bit superficial. But having difficult conversations, whether that's me with the players or the team, or whether that's amongst themselves, that's far more important.
Well, Gareth Southgate also revealed the squad asked to meet without any staff present in the build-up to the game at Wembley in order to discuss the downturn in form.
One of the things was they asked, could they have a meeting on their own and to talk things through, and I think that was, you know, for me that was such a positive sign, because, I mean, by the way, there's moments at some clubs where that's not a good sign, but they'd kind of talked through what they wanted to do with me, and for me, the best football teams, of course, need outstanding leadership from coaching team and everything else. But the best teams have a real core of players that drive things, and there's more of those sorts of conversations go on across a week, where they're eating, where they're having treatment, where they're interacting, that you can't be involved in as a staff. So to have the right sort of messages filtering through to all members of the group to keep people on track is crucial, and I think that's one example of how they've dealt with it really well.
Well, the game has raised further questions over Harry Maguire's position in the team. Maguire has struggled for game time at Manchester United this season and made errors which led to the first 2 Germany goals, but he's received backing from Gareth Southgate.
I know everybody will focus on Harry, but there were some very important moments that Harry delivered during the 2 matches. Luke was another example of somebody that, you know, he's an outstanding footballer. So what do we do? Not pick Luke Shaw because he's not playing enough football, or do we pick a player that can do what you saw tonight? And that's always going to raise debate. But I think in these moments we've got to back our best and our most experienced players, unless we're in a situation where, you know, it's almost untenable and impossible to pick them.
Well, Gareth Southgate suggesting he'll continue to pick players based on England rather than club form. The 2 players he mentioned, Maguire and Luke Shaw, who scored England's first last night, have barely played Premier League football this season compared to the rest of the starting 11. Maguire received further backing from captain Harry Kane after the game.
Any individual mistake, you're going to be gutted. But look, we're a team, we get behind each other. They learn from it, they move on. They've been great for us every time they put an England shirt on. You know, H had a pretty decent injury there at the end, and he played another 5-10 minutes on almost one leg. So great character from him, really proud of him for that.
When you're playing and you make a mistake, I feel like you're experienced enough to know that you made a mistake and you don't need to be told. But no, Harry hasn't been playing too much this season. You know, he's still finding his rhythm, and you know, we know the quality he has and Popey have. So there's no doubts. It's just a little slip up, and I'm sure they'll bounce back and, you know, be strong moving forward.
Well, England have to submit their World Cup squad before November the 13th, and Gareth Southgate has offered some encouragement for those not selected this international break that they could force their way into his plans.
We would be foolish not to keep an open mind to especially players that have worked with us before, who we know that know us and can slot in pretty comfortably. I think the way Eric Dyer has played across the two games is a really good example of that. He didn't need big adaptation. He fits in with the group immediately. So those guys in particular, we're monitoring closely. But also we've got to keep an open mind on others, because in certain positions we don't have a lot of depth, and we've still got to be analysing, is there somebody that can come in and improve the squad that we've got.
Well, Sarah, Gareth Southgate, let's get the thoughts of our senior reporter, Rob Dorsett, who was at Wembley last night. OK, let's start with a simple question, most probably a difficult answer. But are England in a better or worse place than they were at the start of this international break?
Oof, how long have you got? Look, I think you've got to be honest, they're in a worse place. They really are. They've gone 2 games in this international break where they didn't win. That's 6 now games stretching back to the back end of last season that they haven't won. There's disquiet inside and outside the England camp. Criticism from media and from a lot of supporters as well. And real question marks over team selection and just how many of Gareth Southgate's key players are simply out of form. That's all the negative stuff. Being at Wembley last night, hearing that crowd react to England scoring 3 goals in 15 minutes, coming from 2 goals down, it changed the mood, it changed the momentum, and I think it changed a bit of the narrative around this England side. All right, Nick Pope made a howler which will haunt him, and England didn't win the game. But at 2-0 down, it could have been apocalyptic for Gareth Southgate and for England. It felt that way, sitting in the stadium. It was like a morgue. So the character that England showed to come back from that, I think will stand them in good stead, and it leaves them on with a bit of a better taste in the mouth, shall we say? But there are still a lot of big buts. Yeah.
Well, England players having private meetings away from the management staff. I thought we'd have our own private meeting away from the management staff here. So I wonder about this harmony within the squad, because we've always been told, and you have been there, that the feel-good factor under Gareth Southgate behind the closed doors of an England camp has always been exceptional. Is there a danger this might slip away?
Yes. Yes, is the easy answer. And I'm already seeing signs of it. And you talk to Gareth Southgate off camera, and he still thinks that's his biggest achievement as an England manager, is uniting the country, the media, the players all together. And I'll give you an example. Just before the final of the Euros, I was at St George's Park and I bumped into Conor Cody, who hadn't played a single minute of football in the whole tournament. And I said to him, it must be a tricky feeling for you, really proud of what England are doing, but desperate to be a part of it. He said, not on you, Nelly. This has been the best experience of my life. And that was a player who hadn't played a minute of football. That was the atmosphere around that camp that Gareth Southgate had engendered. I didn't see that last night. I was in the mix zone and I saw Harry Maguire and Nick Pope scuttle past, not wanting to talk to the media, understandably, after the mistakes that they've made. But I saw Trent Alexander-Arnold skulk through. I saw Fikayo Tomori do the same. Aaron Ramsdale looked as though he had a face like thunder. There were a number of players that Ivan Toney you're looking at there. Sorry, that's Tomori in the background with Tammy Abraham. They didn't get a minute of football, and Tomori can argue that he's probably the most informed England centre-back right now, and he didn't get a look in. He sees Maguire play like he did last night, and he still doesn't get a game. So how Southgate keeps all of those on board going to the World Cup is the key now, because that kind of unity that served England so well in previous tournaments is being threatened now, I think you have to say. There are a lot of players who he's playing that aren't in form, aren't playing for their clubs. We could list them 5 or 6. And it's difficult to say to the other players, look, I'm playing them because they've done well for England in the past, because it makes those players that are on the fringes, that aren't getting a game, go, well, what have I got to do? Am I literally just here to travel, or in case one of them gets injured? So I think that's the key now. What happens over the next 6 weeks, Gareth Southgate can't influence. It's how the players get on with their clubs. Southgate, I know, will be desperate for the likes of Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire to get some game time at Manchester United, for Calvin Phillips to come back and play some games after his shoulder surgery at Manchester City. He wants those big players back and playing so that it solves the problem for him. But if, as we suspect, a lot of those players aren't going to get game time between now and then, he's got a real problem. He's got a real problem of balance. He's got a real problem of who to select, how to select, and how to keep that positive atmosphere within the England camp, which has served them so well in the last two major tournaments.
Yeah, I'm still closing my eyes and trying to see Conor Cody saying "not on your Nelly." I will work on that one.
It wasn't quite. It was the sense.
Okay.
Of what he,
All right. Okay. Rob, thank you very much indeed. Right.